All right, this video is going to be about ether channeling and port channeling and the various protocols that are used to create port channels. So here's the network diagram, switches 1 through 4. For the connection between switch 1 and switch 2, I'm going to use the static ether channel configuration, port channeling on those 2 switches, and then for the connection between switches 2 and switches 3, I'm going to use the LACP protocol, and then for switch 3 and 4, I'm going to configure it using the Cisco's proprietary port aggregation protocol, PAgP. And so that's going to be how this demo is going to be laid out. So let's go ahead and look at switch 1 here, show IP/INT brief real quick. And right now there is no ether channel bundling yet. So what I'll do is I'll designate gig 00 and gig 01 to an ether channel port, and then I will have that same connectivity configuration for switch 2's gig 00 and gig 01. So let's go ahead and focus on switch 1 and switch 2. First, switch 1. So what I want to do is I want to say config T interface range G0/0 through 1, and then I will say ether channel group, actually channel group, and then here I can say give it a name. So between 1 and 2, I'm just going to call it channel group number 12, and then on the mode is where I want to set my link aggregation protocol. So basically I want to say what are my options. So here is my option. So if I say mode on, it will choose to configure the ether channel statically. If I choose either auto or desirable, that'll force it to use PAgP. And then if I choose active or passive, that'll force it to use LACP, the link aggregation control protocol. So in this case, I'm going to say, I'm going to force it to use the static ether channel method. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say mode on. All right, so now port channel is created, and I can see that the port channel 12 is up. And if I do a show IP/INT brief, I can see my port channel is up, and there it is. And I can say show ether channel summary, and in the summary it says there is 1 channel group in use, the number of aggregators is 1, and these are the ports that are participating in port channel 12. All right, so I'm going to do that, and then on switch 2 I'm going to do the same thing. Config T INT G0 INT range G0/0 through 1, channel group mode, channel group, give it a port number, name is 12, mode, again my option is going to be on for a static configuration, and creating a port channel interface 12, interface port channel is up. So show IP/INT brief on port on switch 2, and if I do a show ether channel summary similar to switches 1 output, this is what I get. It tells me what port is configured for what physical port is configured for the virtual port channel of 12. Show ether channel detail gives me some more options here. I can have a maximum of 4 ports per channel group. And right now, port in this group is 00 and 01. Okay, so show VLAN. So I have VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 configured on here already. And on switch 2, show VLAN, also 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Why? Because I have VTP enabled. Show VTP status. It's Cisco, and then this switch is the server mode. On switch 2, show VTP status, and the domain is Cisco, and the operation mode is server on this. So what happens if I delete? No VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Alright, on switch 2, show VLAN. Show VLAN on switch 1. Those VLANs are gone. Show VLAN here, and this is still here because there is no trunking between the two switches. If I do show run int g0/0, I only have the channel group set. There's no trunking on that. Same thing for 01, no trunking on that. And then show run int po12, and no trunking on that. On switch 2, show VLAN again. On switch 2, show show int g0/0, show run int g0/0, and no trunking configured on that. Show run int g0/1, show run int po12. Okay, so let's go ahead and configure trunking between switch 1 and switch 2 on the port channel group 12. And you can see that once I do that on the virtual port channeling, the configuration will be applied to the physical gig 0 and gig 1. T int po12, switch port, trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode, trunk. All right, show run int po12. Okay, now port 12 shows down, and then it came back up. So now I do a show run int po12. I got my trunk there. Show run int g0/0. I got my trunk there automatically applied because that physical port on gig 00 is part of port 12. So show run int g0/1. All right, so once I apply the configuration on a port channel, it'll apply it to the physical channel associated with that port channel automatically. So that's good to go there, and then I got to do that on similar onto switch 2. Show run int po12. Okay, so config t int po12, switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, switch port mode trunk. All right, so now show run int g0/0. I have a trunk there. Show run int g0/1, same thing, and po12 trunk there. Show VLAN. Now the VLANs are gone because there's trunking between the two switches, and so switch 1 I deleted the VLANs earlier. So now switch 2 also sees no VLAN. Show VLAN. All right, so there you go. So that's the static Ethernet port channeling between switch 1 and switch 2 using the Etherchannel group number, and then mode is on for a static configuration. Then let's do switch 2 and 3. So for switch 2 and switch 3, I want to use the link aggregation control protocol, which is the dynamic protocol here. So what I want to do there is config T. Let's do a show run int g0/2 first to see what we're working with, and then show run int g0/3. Nothing there. Okay, and then on switch 3, that should be nothing either. Show run int g0/2 blank, show run int g0/3. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and configure our LACP between switch 2 and switch 3. Config T int range. Do the physical port first from 2 to 3, and then channel group. And then since this is between 2 and 3, I'm going to call it port 23. And then mode, here's my option. If I choose LACP, I have the option to choose active, or I have the option to choose passive. When I am choosing the active, then this switch will initiate a port channeling request to the opposite end, and so that is the initiator. So I'm going to configure switch 2 as the initiator, and then I'll configure switch 3 as the responder, which is the passive mode. So switch 2 is going to initiate the dynamic negotiation of port channeling. So channel group 23 mode, and I want this to be active. So I choose active, and this will enable LACP. All right, so mode active, because I want switch 2 to be the initiator. It's going to initiate aggregation, creating port channel 23. 2 and 3 is down. Okay, that's because the other side is not enabled yet. It says here 2 and 3 is suspended until the other side is enabled. So if I do a show Etherchannel summary, port 23 right here, lowercase s. Let's see what that is. Lowercase s. That should be suspended. I don't see the lowercase s, but it was suspended earlier. I see an uppercase S for layer 2. Here we go. I don't know why I missed that one. Lowercase s is suspended. Okay, so great. It's suspended because this switch, ports 2 and 3, is initiating negotiation for its remote neighbor, remote link, to become a port channel. But switch 3 haven't been configured yet. So let's go ahead and configure switch 3. So config T int range g0/2 through 3, and then I want to say channel group 23 as well, mode, and then I can either say active or I could say passive. Now up here I originally wanted to say passive. So let's go ahead and configure passive first, and we'll see it come up, and then I'll configure active and see what happens. Mode passive. All right, creating port channel 23. 2 and 3 is down. Two and 3 unconditional suspended LACP. Okay, 2 and 3 is up now. Great. Let's go back to switch 2. Switch 2 says 2 and 3 is up. If I hit the switch arrow, the up arrow, and now we can see that LACP is the protocol for port channel 23, And P, capital P here is bundled and in a port channel. So that's what we want to see, bundled and in a port channel. All right, and switch 3, show Etherchannel summary, should be the same, and there it is. All right, it's bundled and in a port channel group, right? G02 and G03. Okay, so show run int PO23, show run int G0/2. All right, so on this one, it was configured for passive. Let's go ahead and change that to active. So now it's going to be active and then active on this side. So let's see what happens. Config T int range G0/2 to 3, channel channel group 23 mode active. So now we have active. It changed state to down, and it came back up. How about back to switch 2? What do we see there? It went down and then it went up. So let's hit the up arrow key, and we are still good. So you can either configure active or active passive, but definitely can't do passive. So let's try that. Let's do config T int range G0/2 to 3, channel group 23 mode passive. They're both going to be passive. All right, now this is going to go down, and then it's going to go up because the other side is active. Okay, and so it's still good because this side is configured active, but now I want to configure this side to be passive. So both is going to be passive and passive. So config T int range G0/2 to 3, channel group 23 mode passive. All right, now they're both passive and they're both going to be down. Back to switch 2, suspended because the remote port is not configured for LACP, because they're both trying to be passively negotiating, which means that they're not actively sending any port bundling messages across the link. And so that's why it's not going to work. Show Ether channel summary. And you can see here that S right there is for suspended. All right, port 23. And then if I do a show Ether channel detail, port 23, here it is, coming up. Here it is, group 23. Let's see what happens to group 23. Suspended state. Device is sending slow LACP PUs. And then also P is for devices in passive mode. All right. So let's go ahead and bring that back up. See, it's complaining that the remote side is not enabled for LACP. So let's go ahead and configure at least one side to be active. And this switch 2, I want switch 2 to be active for ports 2 and 3. So we can bring port channel 23 up. Config T int range G0/2 to 3, channel group 23 mode active. All right, that should bring the port channel up. All right, there it is. Port channel's up. Switch 3 says it's up as well. Physical interface is up, and port channel is up. All right, so it looks like switch 3 has VLANs 10, 20, 30, 40. Switch 2, show VLAN. Switch 2 doesn't have any VLANs. Switch 3, if I do a show VTP status, it's in client mode. So the 10, 20, 30, 40 VLAN was from a previous run, previous configuration, and it wasn't deleted. So if I want this to be removed without having to configure anything on switch 3, then I would go back to switch 2, because switch 2 is the VTP server mode, while switch 3 is the client mode. And so I can just simply create a trunk between 2 and 3 for the VLAN information to propagate across. So then switch 2, if switch 2 has no VLAN, since it's the server, it will relay that information to switch 3, meaning that switch 3 will also have no VLAN. So let's go ahead and create a trunk between switch 2 and switch 3. Show run int po23, there's no trunk there yet. And then on switch 3, show run int po23, there is no trunk there yet as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a trunk on this. Config t int po23, switch port mode, switch trunk encapsulation. Let's do ISL on this one and see what happens. Switch port mode trunk. All right, and if I look at the physical interfaces, show run int g0/2 on switch 2, the configuration on the virtual port channel follows the actual port configuration. All right, so that's good. Let's do that on switch 3. Let me see if there's any VLAN coming. Show VLAN. Oh, okay, it propagated already. It propagated already because show int trunk, because port 23 was in auto negotiating, so it negotiated with whatever port 2 port channel 23 was configured for. So on switch 2, I configured port channel 23 to be an ISL encapsulated trunk. Therefore, on switch 3, port 23, it was negotiating to whatever switch 2's port 23 was, and it followed that configuration. Therefore, the VTP information propagated from switch 2 to switch 3, and therefore there is no VLAN on switch 3 now. Perfect. All right, so that is the LACP configuration between switch 2 and switch 3. Now let's do switch 3 and switch 4. I'm going to configure PAgP, which is the Cisco proprietary port aggregation protocol. Show run int g0/0, nothing there. Show run int g0/1 is blank. Show IP int brief. We currently only have port channeling for between switch 2 and switch 3. I need to create one between switch 3 and switch 4 using PAgP. So I will do config t interface range g0/0 through 1. Channel group, I'll call it 34 because it's the connection between 3 and 4. Mode, here's where I want to choose PAgP. My options are auto or desirable. If I choose auto, I am basically the responder. If I choose desirable, I am the initiator. So in this network diagram, I said I want to configure switch 3 to be the initiator of PAgP protocol for the link between switch 2 and switch 4. So mode initiator, which is desirable. I'm desiring my remote end to become PAgP. So that's that, and it's down because I haven't configured anything on switch 4 yet. Or did I? Show run int g0/0. Show Etherchannel summary. PAgP has an I. It's a standalone right now, and it needs to form a port aggregation with its remote end. So I'm going to do that on switch 4. So if I do show VLAN on switch 4, you can see here's VLANs 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, which is again from my previous configuration. I need to delete that later on without having to do the manual configuration on this switch. I'll use VTP to propagate that information. But first, let's create the port channeling PAgP. Config T int range g0/0 through 1 channel group 34 mode, and this is going to be auto. Okay, it's going to be the responder. I'm going to respond to whatever switch 3's initiating to me, mode auto. All right, and so now 0, 0, and 0, 1 is down, it says, and pretty soon it should come up. There it is. There it is. Port channel 34 is up. What happens to switch 3? Switch 3 now says port channel 34 is up. And if I want to see the status again on the Etherchannel summary, so now it is up. And it is port channel and bundled. And S and U is it's layer 2, and it is in use. So that's good there. And show Etherchannel summary on switch 4, and it should be the same. I have 2 physical ports assigned to port channel 34, and they are up and bundled. All right, so that's that. Let's do the VLAN thing. So right now I want to remove all these VLANs, but I wanted to have the VLAN information that is currently on switch 3 propagated, but switch 3 is a client mode, so I probably can't configure a VLAN here. Let's try config T VLAN 60, and it's not allowing me because it's in client mode. So switch 2 is the server, switch 1 is also the server. So as soon as I get switch 3 to trunk with switch 4, then the VTP VLAN information should propagate to switch 4. So let's go ahead and do that. Config T INTPO34, switch port trunk encapsulation. Let's go ahead and do .1Q on this side, switch port mode trunk. All right, and then on switch 4, config T INT PO34, switch port trunk encapsulation. On this one, I'm going to, oh, it's already set for negotiating. So if I do a show INT trunk, it should already have a negotiating. There it is. because it wasn't configured for trunking automatically. It was set for auto negotiating, and you can see that by doing show interface, show INT PO34 switch port, and dynamic auto is what it was. Encapsulation was negotiating, and then since switch 3 was configured for .1Q, then switch 4 says, okay, I'm going to negotiate .1Q as well, and that's what the N is for, negotiate, and the 802.1Q is what switch 3 was showing. So if I do a show VLAN now, and there it is, all the VLANs are gone because we have trunk between 1 and 2. There was a trunk between 2 and 3, and then trunk between 3 and 4, and therefore the VLAN information from the server mode switches propagate across the trunk over to the client mode. All right, so basically show Etherchannel summary. So again, PAgP was the protocol configured between switch 3 and switch 4, and then on switch 3 I had 2 protocols configured. Let's take a look at that. Show Etherchannel summary. There it is. Port 23, the link between switch 2 and switch 3 was configured for LACP, while switch 3 and 4's link is configured for PAgP. All right, and then switch 2, I should also see 2 show Etherchannel summary. I should see static, and I should see LACP. LACP shows up because it's static. It doesn't have a protocol. So there you go. That is how I configure the port channeling for static mode, and then for LACP, and then PAgP.